Okay, so this is Howell Ellerman, Professor Ellerman to you, and I'm trying to play with new media. I got a webcam for Christmas this year and thought I might try putting the ground rules on a video presentation for those of you who learn better this way, and maybe to personalize them a little bit. I've come up with new and improved ground rules. Whether you think they're new or improved is another matter, but at least they're supposed to be. I'm going to try to go through them fairly quickly here because I'm going to try to upload this onto YouTube and then put it on a website so you have access to it. So just a little lawyerly disclaimer. If there's any discrepancy between something I say here on the video and what exists on the written copy of the ground rules in written form prevail. So let's get to it, shall we? First question some of you might have is, why do we need ground rules in the first place? Well, it's been my experience, and by the way, this is something I learned to do when I was a student in law school during the Mesozoic era of 25 years ago, is that it's a good way for me to set expectations for what you should be doing in class. Many of you haven't been in college before. Some of you have been in college, it's been a while, and some of you went to colleges where the expectations were either implicit or weren't all that important. And so I thought it would be helpful for us just to have this time for me to share with you what it is that I will be expecting of you, so there aren't any surprises when it comes to your grades, or how you do in the class, or why I react to certain things the way that I do. So let's go ahead. The first and most important ground rule is to show up on time. Woody Allen says that 80% of life is just showing up, and I actually think it might be even a little bit higher than that. That's not to say that you'll get a B in the class if you simply manage to walk in the door, but it is a pretty good way for you to manage your own life. When I say show up, I mean you show up on time, and when you do show up, things happen differently. If you could get along in life by not showing up, then maybe you should just continue to do that and stare at a screen at home, in your parents' basement, or eating nachos, or whatever it is that you do. But for most of us, getting an education involves actually coming and being present in a room. So let me go through a couple of the different things about why it's important for you to show up on time. I'm a wily little creature, and I've figured out over the years that one of the best ways to get students to arrive on time is to make it worth their while. So I often give quizzes within the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes of the class period. And these are not able to be made up. If you miss them, you miss them, and they're worth significant numbers of points. The whole objective in the class is to gather up points, and these are really cheap points to get. So if you're there for the first 5 minutes, you'll get a real no-brainer of a question. I will gather them up, give you credit for it. Same thing's true at the end of class. Sometimes I'll do that. So just make sure you're there, because there's no way to make them up. The other thing about being present is that you need to be in class. It's a requirement of the state that you actually attend the class. You can miss up to 3 class periods without that being a problem, but on the 4th one you will be dropped. That's not only a state requirement, but it's one that I have as well. I know this may surprise you, but your $60 that you spend taking this class in no way covers my exorbitant salary, this room that we're in, or this beautiful college that you get to attend. That's being brought to you care of the taxpayers of the state of California, and they require, as well as I require, that we get our money's worth out of you. We believe in your capabilities, but you have to show up and show that you're worthy of that confidence. Now, with regard to late absences and tests and absences, I've made a change in my policy this year. That is, I will allow late tests with the exception of the final. The final will never be anything other than on the final day. And if you miss it, there's no way to make it up. That's kind of why they call it a final. But for the other classes, other tests and like, I'm going to do a thing where I'm going to let you make them up, but it's going to cost you. So if you miss a test or a quiz, except for the final, if you miss a test or a quiz, it's going to cost you, first of all, 10% if it's a week late, 20% if it's 2 weeks late, and up to 3 weeks late is 30% off. So if you take it between up to 3 weeks late, you can get some credit for it. After 3 weeks, it's all over. You might as well just kiss it goodbye. Alright, so the second rule that you need to be aware of is that you need to be present when you're in class. And I don't mean just physically present. I mean that you need to be mentally present. You need to bring your book to class. And if you're in one of the classes that require you to bring the newspaper, the New York Times, then you need to bring that to class. You need to open it up, engage in the material, pay attention. If I'm taking notes, if I'm talking, you should be taking notes. If I'm taking notes, I guess you should be talking. I don't know. That was dumb. If I write something on the board, that means that you should probably write it down. I'm not writing it down for my benefit. I already know the stuff. For those of you who are unfamiliar with college or academic success, and more power to you for being in this class. One thing that's worked for me through the years, I did it as an undergraduate and then in law school, is just a technique that is very simple. It's called slant, which means that when you're in class, you sit up and you listen, you ask questions, nod to make sure that you're paying attention, and track the speaker with your eyes. And for the benefit of those who are around you, avoid causing distractions and just sit still. This is where we get into the issue of cell phones and texting and surfing the web, which is, I realize that you are incredibly connected these days, and it's your seeming need to never lose that connection. Well, you're going to have to in this class. Use of cell phones, texts, surfing the web, watching movies, whatever you're doing back there on your laptop is not acceptable in this class. I'm here to teach, and you're here to learn. And the way that you do that is to do the things I just talked about in the slant process, right? If you insist on texting in class, if you don't understand that I can see you and that I'm more than aware of what's going on in the classroom, then that'll cost you. It'll cost you an absence in the class, because there's no point in you sitting in the classroom taking up valuable space or air when you're really not present. The next rule, it's pretty self-explanatory, is that you need to pull your own weight in this class. You need to contribute. And one way you do that is to develop your own sense of curiosity. Become interested. Some of you come by that naturally. Some of you are much more passive, that you don't naturally engage in new material. One way you'll be successful in this class and in life is to become interested in anything and everything and everybody. Add value to the class. Be engaged. Find the humor in what's going on. Believe me, there's plenty of it out there. We wouldn't be in this circumstance if you couldn't find humor in it. And between humor and slashing your wrists, we'd much rather have you laughing. Now, one way to do this, just a tip to you, is make a point in your own mind, those of you who are shy out there, to make a point to ask a question or make a comment at least once a week. Believe me, your life will be more interesting, and mine will as well. And just think about this. If I don't know your name by the 5th week of class, then you're more than likely going to have a problem when it comes to my grading you on your class participation or your ground rules compliance.